Well, it would appear that we sci-fi and fantasy fans are getting the old Mike Tyson treatment at the moment. First, Marvel comes in with the body shot.
Oh, I don't doubt you for a moment. The males in my species are very similar. If they're not busy gaslighting you, they're threatening you with murder.
Oh no. And now Netflix are coming in for the uppercut with part 2 of season 3 of The Witcher.
Right hand by Mike Tyson is inviting. And there was an uppercut. Those are the punches that do the most damage. There it is. Never saw it coming.
Season 2 of The Witcher was kind of like getting the wrong leg amputated. It's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. It's not ideal. In fact, I'd go as far to say as that's a pretty bad day. And season 3, so far at least, season 3 isn't too agreeable either. Don't do it. Don't say she looks like Michael Jackson. Don't you dare do it, Jonny. Don't you dare. She does not look like Michael Jackson. It's not funny. It ain't fuck. But don't you worry, my dear little friends, because we have 3 whole new episodes to watch. Can you say, por favor, déjame morir antes de que desperte? Oh, I'm so unbelievably excited. Let's get started. So, episode 6 kicks off with the Rudanian coup at Aretusa, and it lasts all of, 30 seconds? They somehow round up every mage without a fight, apart from Tissaia, of course, who was too strong to be captured, but not strong enough to avoid being herded like a goat. And she then uses her power to free all of the mages, who then fight back and immediately overturn the coup. Really? No one saw that eventuality transpiring at any point? No? Well, you know what they say? Your most clever character is only as smart as your dumbest writer. And then Geralt kicks Dijkstra. Well, that was a bit of an anticlimactic opening. Surprise! We're taking over! Wait, you've instantaneously stopped us. What do you like? Next time, mate. Then Tissaia has a bit of a Gandalf moment and she's like, you shall not pass. And then the Scoia'tael then proceed to immediately pass, shooting a handful of mages with bows. Oh well, better luck next time, mate, Tess. I would also like to point out that this is the same elven army who couldn't defeat Geralt, Ciri and Yennefer in the first episode, who were already under attack at that point, and they still got their asses handed to them. But now they've got Cahir and Fringilla tagging along, they've found the power to stand up to the most powerful mages on the continent on home soil. Of course! That makes so much sense. It doesn't make sense. This really is one of the dumbest battle scenes. Both sides apparently have the time to console their peers mid-battle, who, by the way, are a collection of the most important people on the battlefield, making them prime targets for killists and stabbists and the like. But it is awfully kind of no one to attack them so that the plot can happen. That's an epic gamer move right there. Shout out to both armies for not doing their jobs. Oh boy, and the theme of episode 6 really is convenience, isn't it? Yennefer and Ciri get caught unawares in wide open countryside by the Fire Mage. And then, when he's about to capture Ciri, from out of nowhere, guess who magically appears? And I'll give you a clue. It's not the shopkeeper from Mr. Ben. That's right, it's Deus Ex Geralt, who materializes and promptly dispatches who, up until this point, has been one of the main antagonists, who, to be honest, Geralt should have already killed by now. One of the biggest threats, one of the main antagonists from this season, just pops up and immediately dies. That's, again, a little bit anticlimactic. It's the same with this silent mage accomplice as well. She was killed earlier in the episode with little fight or reason. So they're just abandoning plot lines at this point. Plot lines that seem to be important at one point. I guess not, which is irritating, I suppose. But this must mean they plan on replacing these plot lines with newer, more interesting ones instead. Right, guys? Right, guys?
You made your choice, traitors.
Hate us today, punish us tomorrow. They will not destroy this place, Tissaia. This is our home. Let us fight with you. For you.
This is a pantomime. This is an actual pantomime. And everyone says this series is based on the books. This is not true. This cannot be possible. My only explanation for how doo-doo this series really is that it must be based not on the books, but instead it's based on a small section of the main story from the Witcher 3 game. Remember the part where Geralt performs in Priscilla's plays?
Treason, 'tis not wine, but a brew spiked with silver.
Hark, hark, 'tis no prince, but a Doppler imposter.
They took one look at this and they were like, yes! Yes, that's it! It's golden! The acting, the delivery, the dialogue, it's marvelous! Let's make a show about it.
That I love. I absolutely love.
The only difference being the dialogue and the delivery in The Witcher 3 was supposed to be slightly comical and wooden and a bit cheesy and theatrical. I don't know what this show's excuse is.
It's too late. No, it isn't. We'll keep on fighting.
This is the worst episode so far. This is a bit of a shit show. For the first 5 episodes, I was complaining that nothing was happening, and now things have actually started to happen. I'm beginning to regret that decision. Can we please just go back to wasting everyone's time instead? You know, that was less painful, at least.
I need you to be okay. I need you. Marty, help her.
If I'd just been shot with an arrow, and I needed urgent medical attention, and I was surrounded by mages who, at least to some capacity, are capable of using healing magic, and all I got was a hug, I'd be mildly disappointed. You know what? I might even be a little bit ticked off. And I'm sorry to use such foul language, but I think it necessary.
I got one for you. I think you'll like this one. What do you call a spy master when all of his spies have fled? The answer is dead.
What am I watching? Okay, that was the worst quip I've ever heard in my entire life. What do you call a spy master with no spies? Dead. It's not a joke there. It's not funny. It's not clever. Do you want to hear a quip? Here's a quip. What do you call a writer who writes for the Witcher series? Whatever you want. They're probably not at their desk. Get it? It's a writer's strike joke because it's what, too soon? Jokes aside, I am getting a little bit sick of the conveniences. It was very punctual of that bird to turn up and attack at such a coincidentally dramatic moment, wasn't it? Okay, so I've just watched the scene with Kahir where he asked Ciri to forgive him and then kill him for what he did in the first season. Okay, fair enough. But right at that moment, a Scoia'tael detail just happens to appear out of nowhere and oops, maybe next time. I'm sorry to shatter the usually floral persona, but the court jester's out of jokes. This just isn't funny. Simply put, this just isn't good enough. It's elementary. It's childish. This is a phoned-in second-grade homework assignment. The MacGuffin after MacGuffin. The abandoned plot lines. The endless conveniences for the sake of keeping the plot on life support. You could have made everyone happy. I don't know, by either being lazy or not liking or caring about the source material or trying to pander to a certain group, whatever it might be, or a combination of all those things. You could have made everyone happy. This could have been the next big fantasy show. This could have been the Game of Thrones for Netflix. Easily. It's the wasted potential. Look, I'm sorry to bring the mood down. But I'm genuinely quite cross having watched this episode. And I haven't even got to the fact that Geralt isn't in this. He gets what? All of 1, maybe 2 minutes of screen time? This is The Witcher, is it not? No. I suppose it is it? If you were at all interested to know what Season 4 is going to be like without Henry Cavill as Geralt, just watch Season 3. He's basically not in it. Once again, please do excuse my somber tone. Shall we get back to making fun of this show instead? Yes? Excellent. Well, I might be out of quips, but Vilgefortz, he's got us covered.
I shall see you later. One day, perhaps. You like my staff? I could smash your brain out through your ears.
Wow, dude. You really got the gift of the gab, huh? I'm gonna I'm going to smash your brains through your ear. Wow, how original. It's that first one that got me, though.
I shall see you later. One day, perhaps.
I'll see you later. One day. Perhaps. Maybe. It's a possibility. I'll have to check my calendar and see if I'm free. I could do next Thursday, maybe. Or maybe the Friday after that. I don't know. Goodbye. You could just go on forever. Now, on to episode 7, which is titled Out of the Fire and Into the Frying Pan, which is ironic because for the audience, it's the opposite way around. But nevertheless, we proceed. And it would appear that convenience is continuing to permeate part 2. And as Jaskier is searching Aretuza for Geralt, who does he just happen to bump into first? Of course, it's his semi-boyfriend, Radovid, who is cowering in a corner. How incredibly fortunate that this just happens to be the first person you happen upon. Now, I will concede that conveniences happen. Coincidence is a real thing, but those events are few and far between. But in just the last hour of The Witcher, we've had the fact that we've already established that the elves were weaker than Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer. But since that battle, more of them have died, yet they're now more powerful now there's less of them. Because the plot needs them to be. That's convenient. Triss just happens to stand up when someone happens to fire an arrow. Either an archer was stood in the middle of the battlefield waiting for someone to maybe appear in a random doorway away from the battle, or equally as stupid and unlikely is she just happened to get hit by a stray arrow the second she stood up. Either way, awfully convenient timing. Even though they've been somewhat hunting the Fire Mage, he just happens to show himself to them when he's outnumbered, has no cover, and no backup. Same with the Silent Mage. She just chooses to attack without any backup, and Triss just happens to walk in and helps Yen to kill her. Once again, very convenient. The bird just happens to save Dijkstra, the Scoia'tael detail just happens to save Cahir, and then finally Vilgefortz happens to be waiting in a cave where Ciri and Geralt find a boat, and he's lying in wait not to kill Geralt, just to hurt him and then walk off. It served only to split up Geralt and Ciri once again. And why? You've got it. Convenience. And then, of course, in the big old place that is Aretuza, the first person that Jaskier just happens upon is, of course, Radovid. And it doesn't even end there, because immediately after that conversation transpires and he leaves the room, he turns the corner, and who does he just happen to bump into? Yennefer! Wow, would you look at that? It's a small world, isn't it?
Witch!
You can't make this stuff up. Except you can. And they did. And then they actually put it in the show. You know, one or two coincidences, I can deal with that. That's fine. These things happen. But the entire plot being hinged upon a plethora of conveniences, come on, now you're just having a laugh. And man, that desert scene is kind of long, isn't it? The vast majority of this hour-long episode is just wandering about in the sand. And apart from Ciri eating a tub of Vaseline and sucking on a rock, nothing really happens. And Ciri then meets a unicorn. And for obvious reasons, I'm not going to show you the clips. But a couple of scenes throughout this episode, you just see a big old pair of swinging horse balls. There's one scene in particular where, got a close-up of Ciri and then right in the background, just right there. All I can say is, thank God for depth of field. Now, this arc is from the books, and it's where Ciri is tempted by fire magic, which is great. It's a beat from the books. That doesn't, however, prevent it from being incredibly drawn out and decorated with professional CG. And by professional CG, I mean by 2006 standards. That fire looks like hot garbage. Pun intended. And then finally, 43 minutes into this episode, we cut to someone who isn't Ciri wandering about in a desert. Unfortunately, that person just happens to be Jaskier, who is here to sing again. But his song is so beautiful, it saves him from certain death. One of them even starts crying. Okay, it's a little bit cringeworthy. just a little bit. Matt, where is the Witcher? You remember that guy, right? Where is he? Tell me. Where is Geralt? For I much desire to speak with him.
Hey, you're right. I thought Triss would have healed you, but...
Oh yes, there he is. And he's crippled. Great. I'm sure this means he's going to be doing an awful lot over the next episode and a bit. This is very good news. Oh, how fortuitous! Huzzah! For I was getting so sick of all this witching in this show called The Witcher. Yes, who actually cares about The Witcher? Not me! Not me! Please don't make me watch this. Ah, yes, and now on to episode 8. Episode 8, the finale of what is part 2 of The Witcher. So, let's see what it's got in store for us, shall we?
We return them to Aretusa. We give them peace. Then, we fight to make sure this never happens again.
Oh, would you look at that? More moral grandstanding from Yennefer. How very Reddit of you. Very exciting. Everyone's been saying about how the writers have been redeeming Yennefer after a character was assassinated quite badly, particularly in season 2. But I reckon the writers just forgot what they wrote in those other seasons. To be honest, I think that the writers probably didn't even watch season 2. I wouldn't blame them, to be honest. But I reckon they were sat in a meeting like, this Yennefer character we've got in our TV show. Maybe we should make her act a bit more like this character called Yennefer from the books. I mean, come on, they got the same name. I mean, I feel like that might work. And dear Lord, this CG is ropier than Blood Origins. This looks like a PS2 cutscene. What is going on here, lads? And then finally, we get a bit of dialogue from Geralt, and it's actually pretty good.
Every day that I spend here is another that's serious in danger. Just because you're hiding from the world doesn't mean that I have to.
It really isn't going to be the same without him. Serious question. What do you think is going to be worse? The Witcher without Henry Cavill or Blood Origin? I don't actually know. That's a little bit upsetting.
When I came to Aretusa, if a sorceress fell pregnant, she was kicked out. Divided loyalties. Said the men.
How very bold. How very brave. Like I mentioned in the last video, it does seem as though they're taking a different approach to the character of Yennefer in this season. But to be honest, I'm starting to get a little bit sick of the good Yennefer. If she's not grandstanding, she's delivering a rousing pep talk. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just my British sense of negativity, but I just wanted to shut up half the time. Now, if like me, you get a little bit sick of the new Yennefer, then don't worry, because there's a new female character who's a mysterious forest lady. But I'm not gonna lie, she's pretty damn annoying.
You're not his friend. You're tagging along to get one more song out of him when he dies. You're useless, and he's truly useless. Because you'd be dead now.
You'd be dead now. You'd be dead now.
Wish I was dead now as well. So, it turns out Vilgefortz, who's looking a little worse for wears, and to be honest, I'm surprised he managed to survive a gigantic explosion and fall in a few hundred feet whilst a building crumbled around him, but, there we go. Fortune favours the bold, I suppose. And Vilgefortz has managed to debate the Emperor with the weird fake Ciri from earlier on in the season. I mean, yeah, can't see why this wouldn't work at all. And now we're nearing the end of part 2, and we're back with the real Ciri. But don't worry, because she's done walking through the desert, and now she's tied to a post, which is slightly more interesting, I suppose. But before you can say, put me in a coma, a bunch of people who we don't know begin fighting with a bunch of people who we don't particularly care about. It would appear that the show is still going, I'm still here, and the brevity of life is all too apparent. I'm having fun. And then we actually get to see Geralt in action. In a show called The Witcher. My goodness, what on earth is going on? But, God forbid, he actually gets his own time to shine, and they have Yennefer monologuing over his fight!
You and I, we now know what it means to need, to love, to lose it all.
And not only that, but after Geralt has done dispatching of nearly every Nilfgaardian in the area, he then has to get his bacon saved by the annoying forest woman from earlier. So I think that episode 6 was the most incompetently written episode of The Witcher so far. Episode 7 was the most boring episode of The Witcher so far. And episode 8 was by far one of the most annoying episodes of The Witcher so far. Part 2. Muy bueno. You know what? Part 2 actually makes part 1 of season 3 look really good. And that was garbage. The wheel doth ever spin. And I'll be sure to check back in whenever part 3 decides to rear its face. But in the meantime, appreciate you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. And of course, a big shout out to the patrons and the channel members. We have the top tiers, Punky. And of course, a big shout out to the patrons and the channel members. We have the top tiers, Flunky, Pozzabon, Infinite Dum Dum, Koss, Jax, David, ATS, Texas Lawman, Michael Terpius, Steve the Goat, David, Digital EXE, Saint Nemo, Dagger D69, nice. And of course, Canet, Dogramachi, the Knights of Law. Thank you, my good sirs. Tier 2, Saeed, Dr. Melsky, Yonwich, Hadziu, Mark Maidens, Sensei Fang, Mendicant Bias, Rich Walwick, Michael S., Nastagmus, Magger and Jarek, and the Grand Admiral. And of course, a big thank you to each and every one of the tier 1s as well. To everyone on this list, your support means the world to me. It helps me to continue making these videos, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And there we go, another day, another video. Will you join me for my next one? You better do, you little bitch. But until then, take care of yourselves, guys, and I'll see you real soon.